In the wake of the horrible MindsEye release, gamers and fans are actually left with more questions than answers, and I wanted to draw attention to something that's behind MindsEye rather than just the game itself, because everybody's made a video by now talking and showing how bad it is. I've got gameplay on my channel and you can watch it. And yes, the devs have committed to fixing the game, but the score continues to drop. Even PlayStation is reportedly giving people refunds. That's not an easy thing to do. I tried it with a different game, and because I had already downloaded it, they wouldn't give me a refund. So how does something like this happen? And is there a bigger story than just another game that released that was half-baked? I actually think there is. MindsEye is just the tip of another iceberg. Now, this is something that many of us detected from another announcement about a game from a few years ago. And you may not even remember this game. It was called Everywhere. It was announced 3 years ago, and it immediately set off red flags. Many of us felt it was going to be some kind of an NFT game, and if you don't really understand or care about NFTs, good for you. Those of us who wasted brain power trying to understand them, we're not any better off for it. It's my belief that MindsEye represents something far bigger than itself. And it's the attempt of a company to break into the crowdsourced cash cow that we've seen in games like Roblox and Fortnite Creative. So sit back and relax. I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey where we try to figure out not just the how, but the why when it comes to MindsEye. And before I get into the video, if at any point during this video you like what you hear and you see, hit like and subscribe. We've all played the games or seen the movies or shows where there's an overly corporate video that plays, and it uses phrases like limitless potential and the future, and they are usually narrated by some overly positive AI-like voice that feels very detached and almost automatically untrustworthy and fake. It usually represents some large corporation that is doing something that seems incredibly promising and focused on the good of humanity, but we've all seen the stories. It's usually a front for something sinister and bad. The grinning executives are actually the villains, and they're doing unsavory or unethical things in the background, and this is all driven by their quest for this huge grand thing, or maybe they even justify it because it's for the greater good. Well, it's hard not to feel all of those alarm bells going off when you watch the original announcement for a game called Everywhere. In August of 2022, Leslie Benzies and the team at Build a Rocket Boy announced their game Everywhere during opening night live with Jeff Keighley. And I just want you to listen to the first minute and a half, because they actually show a montage later, but there's another one that's more important. Just listen to how they speak about this game.
We want the community to build this. We want it to be their worlds. We want them to tell their stories in their game. I think it's human nature to navigate uncharted territory, to find a place where we're free to explore, to be creative, and to share amazing experiences.
The goals are to make an experience that's unlike any other, which is such an exciting thing to be part of.
I think ultimately, that's kind of been the big ambition, is to create this kind of open world that can be built out in every direction.
I think it's every day is a new discoveries, and it's constantly growing.
We've put a lot of focus, I think, on the current zeitgeist and what it means to represent yourself digitally.
This is more than a game. It's a labor of love, and it's a labor of passion.
The dream is to create a whole new world for the next generation of gamers, and I think that we've kind of captured that.
Now, you will notice the thrust here is about the players making their own worlds and experiences, but they're also getting very high-minded about what it is to exist digitally, and they claim that this is more than a game. But the thing that really made folks feel a heavy amount of skepticism, or at least I did, was that they said a lot of nothing. It all feels very detached, very generic, like a word salad of buzzwords and not much else other than the same typical generic promises that we get from gaming companies fairly regularly. Now, I want you to listen to another trailer that came later, and this was the one that made everyone think the game would be some kind of an NFT scam. Just listen to this and how it's narrated, and know that this was not meant to be ironic.
What if we could build a world? What would we do if we could start again? What would we create? This is Everywhere. A world where we can transform it, improve it, make it our own. We are all architects of this new world, where our imagination is our only limit, and where our creations can come to life.
Remember how I said those evil corporation videos felt and how they sounded? Yeah, it's really hard not to get those vibes from this video. And I'm not saying that the devs are evil. What I'm saying is it just set off alarm bells. It raised a lot of red flags. And since a lot of the public doesn't know this, Everywhere is the backbone of MindsEye. This, as far as I can tell, was supposed to be their first sort of showcase of what Everywhere could do. So with that in mind, let's look at how they handled the marketing of MindsEye as a game itself. Now, you may or may not remember this, but when MindsEye first debuted and was announced, I immediately felt like something was off. And the reason for that is how they packaged the announcement. First, they started with a reveal story trailer during the PlayStation State of Play in early 2025. It's only a minute and a half, but the cutscenes look solid. But then the quick gameplay snippets felt a little bit off. The car doesn't quite look like it's actually on the road. And that would be very easy to overlook. It's just an announcement trailer. Maybe it's just some cinematic thing that they haven't quite polished yet. But then they introduced a gameplay trailer immediately after. So you're getting sort of this contrast, right? It gives the viewer this impression of, oh, okay, well, that was just the trailer for the story. What we're about to see then is going to be gameplay. But this next one, I think, is even worse. It's a minute long. And if you've been watching gameplay reveals as long as I have, it immediately makes your spidey sense tingle. The first 7 seconds are merely setting up the alleged gameplay, and then as he transitions into getting out of the car, they immediately cut to him walking and shooting. But the camera angle is clearly not gameplay and not what it'll look like, and even that's just a 1 second shot. Then they do like their quick little studio name pop up, and then they cut back to a quick shot of him shooting. You will again notice the camera is suspiciously not in a gameplay position. It's very zoomed in. There's an absurd amount of lens flare that makes it hard to see. This is another very quick clip, which then goes into another quick clip of him just sort of taking cover, and then it immediately fades. We're now 15 seconds into a minute-long trailer, and they are seemingly unwilling to show anything that is not highly edited and spliced up. Then we are treated to more quick shots of driving and combat while in the car. And this is where the car footage returns, where it just doesn't quite look right. And in keeping with the theme of this alleged gameplay reveal, all of the clips are just mere seconds before it quickly cuts. From here, we end up in a parking garage. And again, the editing makes no sense here. He takes cover, quick cut. He shoots, quick cut. He shoots some more, quick cut. And then he's running. And then there's more quick cuts, running, shooting, more quick cuts, more shooting, more quick cuts. Listen, from this point on, it is a barrage of 3 to 4 second clips, which cuts, and they don't even make sense where they make the cuts. A lot of the times the edits don't feel natural. And all of this would not have been that alarming if the game was announced and maybe releasing in a year or two. You would maybe chalk it up to like, oh, it's an early showcase, it's a sizzle reel, right? They're just trying to get people excited. But then the trailer ends and it says summer of 2025. Now at this point, if the alarm bells in your head are not going off, I'm not really sure what would alert you that something is amiss here. This is a mere 3 to 6 months before the game is coming out, and they're showing gameplay in a way that feels as if they are scared to show off the game. Well, since the game has launched, we all know exactly why they were trying to hide this game. But this reveal was honestly just the beginning. It needs to be clearly stated that preview events and review copies are not owed to the gaming press or YouTubers. I gotta get that out of the way, okay? It has become common practice, and it typically is a sign of confidence in the game when they let you see a lot of it well in advance. I'm gonna give you an example, okay? Death Stranding 2 had a preview event that spanned multiple days, and they allowed people to play for around 40 hours. And then review copies are already in the hands of YouTubers like 3 to 4 weeks before the game even releases, and the review embargo is 3 days before Death Stranding 2 even releases. Now, again, nobody is owed this, but it clearly communicates just how confident Hideo Kojima is in his game, okay? Now let's contrast this to MindsEye and how they handled things. They did a preview event through a virtual meeting. Viewers were watching somebody else play the game, and they were consistently having to acknowledge there were bugs and problems that were clearly visible to the people watching. They then provided those who virtually attended the event with very little B-roll footage. This was made evident in Mr. Matty Plays video, where his editor provided a note that read the following: "We had very little footage to work with, so some of the gameplay on screen won't represent what is being discussed. Sorry about that." Now, props to Matty and his editor for this, because I reported on this at the time. I cited their video and I said, listen, this is very concerning. a game that is a mere 19 days before it's launching, and they're shrouding the game. They're seemingly hiding it from us and won't let us really see it. And even what was seen was not that impressive. There were bugs that you could see. There were problems. And that's just a preview event. If there was any hope of smoothing things over with like review copies, that just flat out didn't happen. Not a single YouTuber or outlet was sent a review copy of the game. Instead, they opted to do a handful of sponsored YouTube videos that were just sort of highlighting the game's potential. JorRaptor had to delete his sponsored video, and he published an explanation because of how bad the game was. As far as I can tell, he and anybody else that got wrapped up in like a pre-release sponsored video, they were very unfairly treated here. The devs knew the state of the game. They sent no review copies, and they took advantage of YouTubers who were willing to make sponsored content highlighting the game's potential. Remember, the key to this game is that other game called Everywhere. They were hoping to create this vision for the game in the realm of potential and user-created content. And if the game's relationship with streamers and YouTubers couldn't get any worse, right before Carnage started his sponsored stream of the game, the studio pulled out. This means his entire schedule for that day is now disrupted, and all of the content that he would have been able to create and not just have on his Twitch channel, but also send to his YouTube and clips and everywhere else, well, that all gets sidelined. That's loss of money for him beyond just the sponsored payment. I believe they should pay him not just for the sponsored segment that they canceled, they should pay him for his time wasted. Their behavior up to this point has been completely unprofessional and one that demonstrates willful deception of the public, which, as I said from the outset, we are left with far more questions than answers. If I were forced to guess how something like MindsEye happened, I think the Everywhere game is the key to unlocking the puzzle. They likely focused most of their energy on Everywhere, and they left very little time and bandwidth to make MindsEye an excellent game. Their ambition to have their own version of a Fortnite creative or Roblox sort of universe, well, I think that might have sunk the studio entirely. Who will dedicate any time or energy and trust for this Everywhere product if the audition is the disaster that is MindsEye? That's why I said it all felt like this very detached corporate video you've seen in the movies. But this time, the corporation's not like evil or villainous. They just seem to be very drunk on their own hubris and the potential and their aspirations. It took them too close to the sun. And it honestly makes sense. We've seen similar patterns within the rush to get live service games into the market. The generic trend chases, the derivative content, the lack of original ideas. The reason it all feels hollow is because it is. They're pushing something into the market as fast as possible because everyone's worried they're going to miss the window. You might remember a few years ago, the word metaverse was just getting thrown around quite a bit. We heard an awful lot about what it would be. And it was always generic, and it was always packaged in corpo-speak slop that focused on things like limitless potential in the future. Well, this is also when we were given assurances about NFTs and these other things that just felt like digital versions of new get-rich-quick schemes. Well, I think Everywhere is some form of that. It's an idea that's so big it's really hard to quantify and describe, and yet you're motivated to get into the market as soon as you can because you're scared other people are going to beat you to the punch, which honestly makes me wonder if GTA 6 played a role here. Blinded by ambition and the corporate hunger to be first, they put blinders on and they shoved MindsEye into the market. They were likely thinking, listen, we've got former GTA folks at the company. Those names will garner respect and interest and trust. And they were also probably thinking, we've got to get out before GTA 6 or we're just going to get lost in their wake. With the almost guaranteed popularity of GTA 6 online, something like MindsEye and Everywhere, it would just feel like these small fish in an ocean of huge live service games. So the story of MindsEye is deeper than just another rushed game. It has everything to do with this meta game Everywhere. But unlike the name, it seems that Everywhere is going nowhere. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. That was too good to end on. But listen, those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I try to read and respond to as many as possible. And if you like this video, please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe so I can see you in the next video.